Before we start this episode of the I'm F.I.N.E podcast, we want to make sure to thank our partner for this episode, Trio. As adults, we sometimes dream of continuing our education to advance our career, but where do we even begin? Trio can help you take that first step. The Trio Educational Opportunity Center, located at Governors State University in University Park, is serving those 19 and over in several local counties, specializes in GEDs, financial aid, scholarship and admission applications, tutoring, career counseling, and more. Trio is funded through the Department of Education, and all services are free to participants. Veterans are encouraged to apply. To learn more and apply, visit www.govst.edu/TRIOEOC. On today's episode of the I'm F.I.N.E podcast, we're going to talk about being freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional about acceptance. We're going to talk about why it's so important to be accepted both by others and by yourself, the types of acceptance, and how to accept tough situations.
Welcome to the I'm F.I.N.E podcast with your freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional hosts, Eric Peterson and Brad Stozick.
The ironic thing about this episode is that it's called acceptance, and we had to accept that our first recording was dog shit.
The recording itself was not dog shit. I feel like that was one of our best recordings.
Sorry. Yes, I misspoke. The episode itself, the content was great.
Yes.
I thought it was arguably one of the funnier episodes we've done.
Oh, dude, we crushed it.
But the audio, for some reason, did not record. And so we just had the video. It would have been a really just shitty sounding episode,
yes,
from a quality perspective. So we had to reshoot it, which was perfect because it's called acceptance. And we had to accept the fact that we needed to redo it all and push back our schedule a week just to make sure, which sucks, but
does it though?
Acceptance.
Because now we're getting ramen again.
That's true. And the other reason why our other episode was so great, I think, is because we were riding a post ramen high. Like we tried the new ramen house in our area in Bradley, Hokkaido.
Dude,
I said this in the last one, and because we couldn't use it, Jake, please keep all of this in, including me asking you to do this. But if you could make a clip of Brad saying Hokkaido like that, just so I can play it whenever I want, when I'm having a bad day or whenever there's like an awkward silence or anything, just play that boop, and hit that, and then
Hokkaido.
And then it's just gonna make me so happy. It'll just make me really happy. Well, the last time we recorded, we went there, we got some food to go, we came here, we ate it. It was so good.
Oh, highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
So good.
Yes.
We got a ramen bowl.
Yep.
And we got a sushi roll.
We did.
We split it, which was perfect because initially we were both going to get sushi rolls.
We were.
That would have been way too much, plus a bowl of ramen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I underestimate what a actual bowl of ramen is going to be like.
Well, yeah, because you think of like the instant ramen and it's like 6.5 bites.
Right.
But this ramen.
Yo.
Yeah.
And now this time we're going to go get ramen right after. Right.
PR.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for that too.
Yeah.
Because it was so good. But I think that was part of the reason why we felt like the last episode went so well, was because of how just how good we felt.
Yeah.
You know
and I'm also feeling good because Connor is coming with us.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Connor is a fellow Marine.
Yep.
And we made a plan. We're going to get one bowl of ramen and Lady and Tramp that ish.
Aww.
Mm-hmm. And guess who gets to be Lady? Hokkaido.
Oh, God. You guys are going to share a bowl together. Are you guys also going to get the matching tattoos? Is that still going to happen?
That's still happening. I was joking about the ramen, but the tattoos are definitely going to happen.
I'm not joking about either of them. I hope you do both. I hope we get to see both.
You don't get a body like mine by sharing ramen, dude.
That's true. Especially ramen like that.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah, I would be selfish. I would be a selfish lady and just eat most of the ramen by myself.
And a little shout out just to Connor, because when I think about acceptance, I think about some of the things that he has said to us, because he's like Brad's, like you said, he's a Marine and came to our organization looking to be a part of something, and he feels like he is, and he's been kind of actively serving with our advocacy program, doing phenomenal. And again, like it ties in really well to what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
When it comes to feeling accepted, like this comes from, at its core, an issue that I feel like most veterans deal with, and really everybody in general, which is that longing to be accepted.
Oh yeah, and that's just the one avenue of acceptance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's also the self-acceptance and acceptance of like situation. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and you brought this episode up to me when we were talking about what we should record, and you were like, well, why don't we do an episode on acceptance? And at first, I was a little apprehensive, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, that's a good idea. Yeah. And why did you think it was a good idea to do an episode on acceptance?
Because I think it's a part of mental health that nobody talks about. We've been focusing on the negative sides, the side effects of this, the side effects of that, drug problems here, and this is how but nobody looks like, yes, depression and mental health sucks, but there's also, I don't want to say like a good side to it, but when you fully accept something, like the freedom and like just the feeling of having the weight lifted off your shoulders is, dude, it's on until you experience it. It's I can't explain it in words.
Well, it's part of the process. It's part of the process in grief. It's part of the process, I think, in happiness. Like, I think if you want to be happy, it starts with acceptance. You have to accept, whether that's happy with yourself, happy with your partner, happy with anybody.
Oh yeah.
It comes down to accepting who that person is and loving that person for what they are.
Yeah. I think to go off that, I think to accept other people though, you have to accept yourself for who you are.
Oh yeah. For sure. I definitely agree with that, because it's like, I think, I don't know, you seek when it comes to finding the faults in others, usually some of that kind of comes from the faults that you see in yourself too, right? So I mean, and sometimes those things can bother you and lead to you taking shit out on other people. But yeah, I definitely agree that anything that you're going to do outward, it starts inward. Like you have to accept yourself. That's a good point too.
For sure.
But as far as the definition of acceptance, Brad, what do you got for that?
So manhattancbt.com defines acceptance. So to accept things as they are means to let go of your expectations of how things should be, but instead allow things to be what they are.
It sounds super easy in theory. Like, just fucking let it be.
Yeah.
Like the Beatles said, or whoever actually wrote that song.
Such a great song.
Beautiful song. The cover for when Across the Universe.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's like a Beatles musical movie.
Okay.
But they do a rendition of Let It Be. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Yes. But yeah, acceptance sounds like it should be super easy. It's just letting shit be.
It sounds like it should be super easy, but human nature.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Well, that's why, like I told you before, I genuinely believe that everybody needs some sort of spiritual foundation.
Oh yeah.
Whether that's religion, philosophy, whatever. And for me, again, Stoicism, that's my thing. That's the thing that I gravitate toward and that I find a lot of peace with. And a lot of the ideology behind Stoicism is in acceptance. It's letting it be. It's the serenity prayer, which is what God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the wisdom to change the things that the courage to change the things that I can and the wisdom to know the difference. So it's like understanding what things do I have control over, what things do I not have control over, and then accepting that shit.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's just kind of it kind of lifts a burden off your shoulders when you can accept something.
It really does. But it's like, it almost makes you think is the ability to accept something, is that like a human, like, are you born? You know what I mean? Like, or is it like a defense mechanism where like, I can't accept that, I'm going to try to fight it? Like, is that just human nature? Or is it more of like a situational, like, because of your environment, that's why you're not accepting things? You know what I mean?
I think that it's human. I mean, we have to accept things because we have no other option. Like we let me turn this thing off. Sorry, hold on a second.
You're good.
Getting too many text messages.
Mr. Popular.
Story of my fucking life. All right.
You are so
Sorry.
Popular. you ever seen Wicked? I'll teach you the proper poison. You talk to boys. Sorry.
That's another clip that I'm going to need made, Jake. I don't have the video portion. It'll just be the audio, but that's fine. Great question. I think that as far as our ability to accept things, I think a lot of it's because we're products of our environment.
Yeah.
And I think it's an evolutionary thing, because it's like this is the hand that you're dealt. What are you going to do with it? If you are going to let it bother you, if you're going to let it get into your head, whatever it is, visual impairment, PTSD, broken leg, whatever it is, you can let it ruin you.
Oh, yeah.
You can let the thoughts and the negativity slowly just creep into your head, get deeper and deeper, and then before you know it, it affects everything in your life. But if you just say, okay, this is my situation and I have to accept it and move on, well, then it's going to make things a lot easier for you. And so I think it's kind of, we're products of our environment. And then as evolution goes, and just generations after generations, we see the people that succeed. We see the people that don't.
Yeah.
In your own life, think about who succeeds and who doesn't. And then try to think about what role acceptance has played in that. Because the people that I know that have succeeded in life, that I look to like as mentors and stuff like that, so many of them have dealt with some sort of issue and then been able to accept it.
Yeah.
And then move forward from that. They're not being held back by it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But there are a few different types of acceptance, so we just wanted to talk about that. The first one was what acceptance is in the grief process. So according to verywellmind.com in an article written by Sanjana Gupta, characteristics of acceptance in grief are feeling positive and hopeful, seeking out new meaning, feeling more secure and relaxed, engaging with reality as it is, rather than accepting what you thought it would be, being more mindful and present, coping and adapting to circumstances, being able to tolerate emotions and be vulnerable, communicating in an honest and assertive, open manner, and taking care of yourself and having self-compassion. So it's a lot of things. I think about where I was at when it comes to my mom passing away.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, like feeling positive and hopeful, you almost feel guilty the first time, I think, when you're going through the grief process. I did.
Yeah.
I felt guilty the first time I actually felt a little positive. And for me, the whole part of acceptance in my grief process, with one of the worst losses a person can go through, the loss of a parent,
Yeah.
was when my dad and I on Mother's Day this year, we went up to our family cabins, northern Wisconsin, in the middle of the woods, beautiful, big, on a big lake. And my dad and I went up there together to open the cabins and to spread my mom's ashes up there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little memorial garden up there. And we went up there together. And I thought, I knew it was going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was going to be that hard. And no one can prepare you for that. Like, there's a little garden that's behind the cabins, nestled into this hill where there's just beautiful trees everywhere and flowers and everything. And like the way that the sun pierces through, like it's beautiful. And my dad, when we first got there, I said to myself, oh, I'm just going to grab the shovel, dig the hole, put the ashes in there, done deal. And my dad and I will just, say some things about my mom and we'll think about it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even dig the fucking hole. Like it took us a few days. And then one morning, like my dad knew that I couldn't do it. He saw it in my eyes and he did just what a dad would do. He didn't say anything, didn't make me feel bad. He just goes over, grabs a shovel, does it himself. And then we didn't have the heart to do it. Like it was so hard for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And like towards the end of our time there, my dad just looked at me one morning and he said, I think mom's getting a little anxious. And I was like, okay. And so we walked back there, we buried her ashes. My dad said some kind words. And then I watched my dad spread the ashes, some more of the ashes around the property. And then he and I went and we sat on the pier and we talked for like a few hours.
Yeah.
The more I thought about it, I was like, dude, that was a fucking really cool ceremony. Hold on a second. We got to stop. The fucking camera cut out. Good thing I'm paying attention to it. Do you remember? Okay, hold on. It's coming back on. I'm going to start back where I'm going to go back farther enough. Let me think here. Okay. I'm going to talk back about when we buried the ashes. So my dad put the ashes, buried the ashes, said some kind words. We had a nice little ceremony. And then I watched him take some of the ashes and spread them around the property.
Yeah.
And I'm watching him do this. And I'm just like, the just level of how profound of a thing it is that you're watching, like in and of itself was just like, I was like there, but I almost wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then after that, my dad and I, we went and sat on the pier and we sat on the edge of the pier and we just talked for like a few hours and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And it was the first time I started to understand what acceptance was. And then my dad and I went home and we drove home. And then after that, I just felt different. Not in like, oh, everything's great now way.
Yeah.
But just like, I understand it still hurts, but it's a little easier to deal with the pain.
Yep. And you kind of got that sense of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to share that moment if you can with somebody else who's also going through it.
Yeah.
And you kind of deal with that thing together. Because then my dad and I on the way home, like we stopped at a brewery, had a couple of beers and had like, my dad got a little buzzed. My dad never really gets buzzed.
Yeah.
He got a little buzzed and we just had like a really good talk. Like at that moment too. And now whenever my dad and I spend time together, it's not to say we didn't get along in the first place. We did. But through this trauma, we've been forced to have a better relationship too.
Yeah.
And we do. And he's been more active, filling in for the void left behind by my mom in like my kids' lives. And so like all that rolls into the acceptance because it helps me, like that article said, feeling more secure and relaxed, engaging with reality as it is rather than what I thought it would be. Like, dude, my wife and I would always joke about how my mom was just going to move in with us one day after my dad passed away. And like my mom joked about it. My dad joked about it. Like that was what we wanted. That's what we wanted. So engaging with reality for what the fuck it is so important. Coping and adapting to these circumstances, letting yourself be vulnerable, like crying if you want to fucking cry, being angry if you want to be angry. I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier today who lost his dog, and he's a veteran too. He's a great dude. And he was telling me about the emotional kind of shit that he was dealing with. And he was like guilting himself for wanting to cry about it. I'm like, bro, that's your dog, man. Like, you do whatever you want to do. You have to accept the emotion in the moment, other than like, if you're driving a car, you don't want to lose yourself and like, you know what I'm saying? And risk the safety and security of yourself and other people. But if you're sitting there and you're thinking about somebody or that you lost or a pet that you lost or whatever, and you want to cry, fucking cry.
Yes.
Be angry. Don't take it out on anyone else, but like, let yourself have it, accept that emotion.
Yep. And
then say, okay, now I gotta, move forward. So I think it's so important when it comes to the grief process. I mean, what was it like for you and your dad?
For me, when I had my like aha moment, that's a bad way to put it. I'm sorry. Not like aha moment, but like the moment where like I didn't feel sad. I would like just think about things that we did. And Veterans Day 21, November.
Yeah.
The dispensary I go to was giving away free pre-rolls to veterans. And because of the smell, I don't smoke it at home or whatever. So I was like, Dad, what are we doing? Right? So he picks me up from school and we go to the Taco Bell drive-thru. We probably spent like $47. This was before Taco Bell was obviously what it is today, right? So we spend like $47. We get our like 26 burritos, like 19 tacos, and like 2 extra large Baja Blasts, whatever.
Yeah.
We go back to the house. We light the pre-roll, and we're watching like this dumb, like it's like the worst nature show that you could possibly watch. It's like the Walmart brand of like the BBC version. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Is that on like PBS or?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So like instead of like, oh, this is nature, it's like, well, there's nature. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So we're watching this show. And I look over at my dad, and he always sat the same way on the couch. He has his leg crossed.
Yeah.
And he's got his arms above his head, one arm, and he would always like pick his nails. Mm-hmm. It would make a distinct. So he's doing that, and I look at him, and you know how you get too high and you like everything seems slow motion.
Yeah.
He like turns, and he goes, "I'm way too fucking high." And I think I thought of that, and I laughed instead of cried. And I think that was my acceptance moment. That was my moment where I was like, you know what? He's still here or whatever. He's still with me. I can still feel his presence. I'm going to think of the good times and laugh. And I still cry sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I miss, my birthday. I woke up and the first thing I did was I cried because, I wanted to call my dad.
Right.
But, that was my like, okay, you know what? It's okay.
Well, because in that moment, you're letting yourself know that you don't have to be just swallowed by the depression and the anger or whatever you're feeling surrounding somebody's death. And you're like, oh, I can still associate that person with a positive feeling.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll never forget when it happened, people kept telling me, older, like his friends and my mom's friends, they're like, when you lose a parent, there will come a time where you'll think of them and you'll laugh. And of course, at the time, I was like, you're full of shit. Don't tell me that right now. Like, that's never going to happen.
Right.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Oh, yeah. And I'm the type of dude, like, I not bounce back, but like, I will laugh no matter what. Almost no matter what. And we've talked about this, about how one of the next episodes we think we want to do is about the importance of a sense of humor.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to trauma, tragedy, and shit like that. But like, after my mom passed the week of, I remember there was a moment where like when I was at my worst, the first thing that I did was, and I think I told you this, is I looked up Norm Macdonald on YouTube, because Norm Macdonald is one of the comedians that can always make me laugh no matter what the fuck I feel. And I turned on, like, he has interviews with Conan O'Brien, and every single one of them is hilarious. And I turned it on, and I was able to laugh.
Yeah.
And like, showing yourself, even when you are having the worst fucking time, dealing with whatever you're dealing with, being able to prove to yourself that you're still capable of laughing.
Yeah.
I think is so important when it comes to acceptance too.
Do you feel that like for me, because it was so soon after, like making jokes and laughing, is that courtesy of the military, do you think? Do you think as a civilian, you wouldn't have been able to do that?
I think that in the civilian world,
yeah,
because of consideration, which isn't a bad thing at all, obviously. Excuse me. People want to be considerate of others. And so because of that, they don't think that they can make jokes about things.
Right.
Because they don't know how it's going to make you feel.
Right.
Right. And I think it comes from a place of caring and wanting to be considerate. Whereas in the veteran community, we fuck with each other because that's how we show, one, that's how we show each other we love each other.
Oh, yeah.
Two, that's how we get through all of the bullshit that we have to get through.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You have a mission and that mission sucks and nobody wants to go do it. You're going to make some little jokey jokes and you're going to carry the fuck on and do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like, no matter what, you're going to be there for each other. And because you're in a situation, and I think I've said this before, where like death's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I think when you're in situations like that, you know that it's all a joke.
Oh, yeah.
More or less. Like there's a quote in the movie The Watchmen, which is one of my favorite quotes. It was by the dude whose name in the movie is the comedian. And he says, once you realize how much of a joke everything is, being a comedian is the only thing that makes sense. And I was like, I understand. It's like a comic book movie or whatever, but you hear that and you think about it and you're like, yeah. So, I mean, I definitely think the military has a lot to do when it comes to laughing and being able to laugh that soon after like a traumatic event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And part of that also is, you know, it's your coping mechanism,
sure,
right? And you're just trying to get yourself ready for the next thing. So you just make jokes about it. What I think is important is that you don't use the jokes to completely push off dealing with the rest of it. Like, I feel like if you can use the humor to kind of lessen the blow, that's not so bad. But if you just hide behind it and never actually deal with the real issue, well, then I think it could be a little more problematic.
Well, then you have the Joker.
Yeah.
That's, I mean,
which is why he's so terrifying.
Have you seen that movie?
With not Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah,
it was very good. There's going to be a sequel to it.
What?
With, Harley Quinn's going to be played by Lady Gaga.
Really?
Yeah. But Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job.
Oh, dude, crushed it.
Well, he's like a character. He's very much a, what do you call, method actor?
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
So he like got into it. It's a different type of Joker.
Yep.
Than Heath Ledger's and Jack Nicholson's and Cesar Romero's, but it's still a very good one. I thought it was a very, very good movie. But yeah, that was a little bit different because he had like a nervous tick. And his nervous tick was like laughing, right?
Yeah.
But no, and then so that kind of leads into the next type of grief based on the ending of that movie. So feeling like you're accepted into a group. So when I look at gangs, cults, any of that shit, and I like to watch those types of documentaries about like gangs and cults and everything and where they came from and how they started. How many of them start with a bunch of people that just want to fucking be accepted somewhere? Like
none of them.
It's all of them.
Yeah.
It's literally all of them.
Literally.
It's just people that just want to be accepted for who they are.
Yep.
And then the first person that comes by and is like, I accept you. They're like, oh, I'm going to go and go to this place and drink this fucking Kool-Aid because this guy accepts me for who I am. Like, it's such a strong thing to have to feel accepted. And then when we talk about the veteran community, okay, dude, you are deployed. We're all accepted. We are all accepted because, well, at least, okay, I should say common sense based on common experience.
Yep.
And everybody, individual experiences may vary when it comes to military. I felt accepted for the first time in my life when I was in the military, because up until that point, I was always like made fun of because I looked different.
Yep.
Right. And so at that point, I was like, man, it feels so good to feel a part of something because we're all wearing the same fucking uniform. So, and again, while I've heard stories in other places, like in the infantry, dude, we had every color person there pretty much. You know what I mean? Like everybody was in our platoon and we all accepted each other. And then you come home and it's kind of like that whole thing too, where it's like with kids, how they say, like hatred, racism, stuff like that isn't just an inherent thing. Like it's taught to these kids.
Yeah.
It's like you learn how to accept people and then you come home and then you're reminded like, oh, yeah, we don't like each other. Like we're divided because you do this, you look like this, you worship this, you love this person. So now like we have to be against each other. We're in the military because we're wearing all the same uniforms. We're just like, bro, I don't give a shit. We're all the same team here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have that issue dealing with that acceptance. You come home, you're looking for that acceptance when you get out of service.
Yeah.
And you don't know where to find it.
Because you, as civilians, you don't, like we've talked about before with the Sebastian Younger episode, and you don't embrace the suck with anybody. It's all with them. What's in it for me? What can I do to better myself? How am I going to get ahead?
Well, there are times where the civilian community goes through something traumatic and we all do come together.
Correct.
September 11th,
Yep.
Hurricane Harvey, just hurricanes and shit in general.
Yeah.
Like you just see the civilian population like, yo, we're all going to take care of each other now. But it's sad that it takes something like that to bring everybody together. Because again, there was a saying that like, the only way to bring people together is either by a death or by like a baby being born or a funeral or something. And it's like, I think that the civilian population can do that for sure. They've shown that time and time again, but I don't think it's as embraced and practiced as often as it is with the military. You know what I mean? And that's why I think there's a little bit of an issue sometimes when guys are coming back and they want to feel accepted.
Yeah. And I think a big part is boot camp.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's where I don't know about Army boot camp. I know you guys got like stickers and candy and stuff and like all that shit. But in Marine boot camp, they like break you down and they like, you know what I'm saying?
Try to teach you guys how to read and stuff.
Yeah, but you're like, oh, here's your sticker. Good job. You ran fast.
He has that color in the pictures, and if you stay in the lines, drill sergeant puts it up on their fridge, and they're like, look at you guys. You stayed inside the lines.
Well,
like
half the Marines, we didn't get through the coloring book because we ate
all the crayons.
So there was none left.
Yep. It said macaroni and cheese on the crayon. You know what I mean? Granted, you couldn't read it, but that's fine.
It tasted just like macaroni and cheese.
Well, yeah. Well, so, I mean, I don't even know where that started. Where?
I don't either.
They start talking shit.
I know. It's just what I do. No, it's like the acceptance of being in the military. Just like it doesn't matter what background you're from. And like the embracing the suck together. That's where we were.
Well, because you're in a group. Like any group of people. Like, and you look out now and you just see people are yearning for acceptance in groups. And they want to get together with other people that feel the same way they feel, that aren't going to judge them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But if you look, everybody's so fucking judgy. Like everybody is so, every group is like, man, I want to be part of that group. And this group's like, well, you can't join us because your hair is blue or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
again, but I think that's a tribal thing. And because again, like when we're talking about gangs specifically, I think about when why most gangs band together, and that's because they want to look out for each other. And so then like as a defensive coping mechanism or whatever, because they're looking out for each other, anybody that's not in the gang is now on the opposition. And now that's where they start pointing fingers and not liking each other. Like the Taliban in Afghanistan, like to my knowledge, and I got this from talking to locals when I was over there. Yeah. Like the Taliban started to take care of the villages, because they needed to look out for each other. Yeah. And then, a couple generations, people get out of power, new people come into power, and then things started changing. Like they used to be like loved by the locals. You know what I mean? Because they were looking out for the locals, but that changed.
I feel like that's with almost every extremist group. In a sense, because I don't know if you know the history of like the KKK. I don't, obviously that's horrible. And like, I would never, like, that's obviously right. Like, no, but the KKK started as a way for Southern troops who had fought in the Civil War to protect their home. Like to protect, that's what it started as. And then it quickly became what it is.
Like, I'm sure, I don't know if there's like a clip out there somewhere of like the KKK where like, they started out just a bunch of like pretty decent dudes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one guy's like, I don't know how I feel about these minorities though.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just
crash and burn.
changed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But no, like I feel like there's a lot of groups like that. Like it starts out with good intentions to protect your tribe, your group, and then it turns into, Well,
once you stop accepting other people,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And again, I always look for the lowest common denominator. And with all those groups, like you mentioned, it's a group of people that feels like they have to take care of themselves because their life is challenged, their way of life is challenged, or like something like that. So because of that, they band together and then they immediately start having that us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. And the easiest way to see that is any fucking sports team that exists. Like you watch like I'm a Bears fan, man. Okay, go to Soldier Field, Bears Packers game. It is an us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
And what I hate is watching people be like really rude and disrespectful to another human being because of the fucking shirt they're wearing. I'm like, yo, dude, okay, these are the reasons why aliens won't fucking hang out with us. It's because we do dumb shit like this.
Wait, your shirt's blue and his is green and you threw a beer on that guy?
But look at how easy it is.
Yeah.
It's that easy for us to get the us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, well, this is my team and that's your team. And because you like that team, I don't like you. You know what I mean? And it's so weird how quickly our brains can like just go to that.
Have you ever not liked somebody because of their
not liked somebody?
Yeah, because
of the affiliation?
Like the team they root for?
No, because I grew up with my dad, and my dad is very even-keeled, very relaxed, loves the Bears. He is a sports nut. Like you ask him who won the World Series in 1954, and he's like, "Oh, that would be the Boston Red Sox because blah blah blah," and he would like rattle off a bunch of stats, and you're like, "What the fuck?" But I was a huge Bears fan, always a huge Bears fan.
Yeah.
And my dad was a Bears fan, but he also like watched the Packers. Like he liked the Packers too because they had fucking Brett Favre. And he respected greatness. You know what I mean? So
Rightfully so.
So like I didn't grow up in an environment where I had to watch my mentor, my parents, talk shit about other people because of what they were wearing or the team that they were rooting for. My dad would just be like, yeah, the Bears, we love the Bears, they did this and that and this. And he's like, but hey, Brett Favre threw for this many yards. He still did really well with this, that, and the other. Like he gave credit where credit was due. And so because of that, I've never looked at a team and been like, I don't like you because of your team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you?
No.
Okay.
Oh, jokingly?
Yeah, jokingly.
I've never been like, wow, Cubs fan. Ugh.
So yeah.
I hate you.
Right. Which you should, because it sounds like the White Sox are moving out of Chicago. So did you hear about that?
Wow,
There's
dude.
rumors.
Really? We're just going to bring that up? We're just going to bring it up on the podcast. We're trying to have a great conversation.
So, case in point.
Lay that shit on me.
Case in point, Cubs Sox. I grew up watching the Cubs games with my grandparents.
Yeah.
And so because of that, in and of itself, like I'm a lifelong Cubs fan. Like ever since I was a little kid. I've been to more Sox games because Comiskey for the longest time, like if you had a military ID, it would give you like a free ticket.
Well, nowadays you just have to show up.
Nowadays,
if you have a shirt on, they'll be like, "Hey, come on in."
Like it's like I don't know what the opposite of scalpers. Like people are just like, "Please take these tickets for free."
Dude, you say that, but Amanda got a call, and it was a random number, so she picked it up, and they're like,
"From the White Sox."
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, we noticed you came to a game like 7 years ago. Are you interested in some ticket packages?" And I'm like, dude, how, like, you guys are bad, but like, come on.
We'll give you a hot dog, whatever the fuck you want.
just please show up.
Yeah.
Well, dude, if you watch the games, like, usually you see fans. And, dude, it's just seats with like maybe 3 or 4 people, just kind of like sprinkled.
Which sucks because going to a ball game, that's the best.
Oh, it's fun.
Going to a ball game is so much fun, especially as a parent. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but okay, so acceptance of self, that's the other important type of acceptance that I wanted to cover. And when it comes to acceptance of self, like we mentioned earlier, like I think that that's at the foundation of happiness. Like, how can you be happy if you don't accept yourself for who the fuck you are? Which means accepting the bad shit too, not just the good stuff. It's super easy to accept good shit, but it's like to accept everything about you,
Yep.
the good and the bad.
Yep.
Right. So when it comes to acceptance for you,
Yeah.
how were you able to accept going from being able to see to just having that taken away?
Time,
Yeah.
substances,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of anger.
Yeah.
A lot of anger.
Yeah.
And I think knowing that I have 2 little people that I have to provide for,
Yeah.
knowing that I have a wife that loves me, and I'm not saying like, oh, I'm the breadwinner and like there's no way they would survive without me.
No, it's just you have a part to play.
Yeah,
it's your family.
Yeah, we are a functioning.
Yeah.
And that, if I didn't have them, I don't know where I'd be, man.
Yeah.
I would probably be a drunk or worse. You know what I'm saying? Like I would probably be in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah.
But the acceptance, it took a very long time for me to accept what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. I want to check something really quick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're still good. Cool. I think that's one of the things that I've told you this before, but that I just legitimately, sincerely respect about you.
I appreciate that.
Is the ability that you were able to take this and fucking deal with it and accept it and move on.
Dude, what other option?
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because if you, like, seriously, look at the alternative. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we talked about that story before. It was on Jocko Willing's podcast about the Vietnam veteran.
Yep.
There was 2 Vietnam. I don't want to butcher this story, but like there's
you
2,
do every time you tell it.
I fucking know. There's like 2 Vietnam veterans. Both of them lost their legs.
Yep.
And both of them went to a treatment facility to like learn how to deal with the fact that they did not have legs anymore. Veteran A was the son of like a prominent general who was like widely revered, respected, loved. And you would think that he would have the support there because of who his father was. And veteran B didn't have all that, but when he got out, he learned what he could learn from the treatment facility. And then he went out, became a farmer, had a family, lived a life. Veteran A ended up killing himself.
Yeah.
Because he could not. Well, let me back up. Veteran A killed himself. Veteran B was on Jocko Willing's podcast.
Yeah.
Jocko asked him, why do you think Veteran A killed himself? And Veteran B said, because he never accepted what happened to him.
Dude, there is so much truth behind that story. Like, there is so, like...
You're just fighting upstream at that fucking point, right?
Yeah, I have been... now that I've been on both sides, it's pretty, you know what I mean? It's pretty, obviously, option B of acceptance is much better than where it was the alternative. But to have been at the point, like, I've been to the point when this first happened, I was like, man, I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to see tomorrow morning. And I told myself that for months, dude. I would be like, you know what? I'm going to see tomorrow. I have a doctor's appointment next week.
It's the denial.
Yeah. And you know what makes it worse is you go to these doctor's appointments. And I'll never forget the first time I went to Loyola to see my eyes, and the first time my eye doctor was like, "You're blind." To hear that for the first time is like, "No, I'm not. I'm gonna see tomorrow. Like, what kind of magic shot can you give me?"
Like you're mad at that person.
Yeah, I was like, "The fuck you! I'm not blind. You're blind."
Yeah.
Like, like you're wearing glasses, so
you're
fuck
blind.
You. But yeah, dude, it's scary. It's a scary thing when you have something taken away from you.
Oh, dude.
And to almost have to accept it. It's fucking hard, man.
Well, this isn't the same, and I'm not trying to take away from what you're dealing with, what you had to deal with, but to draw a parallel from something that I dealt with. The first time the palliative care doctor told me that my mom needed to go on hospice, I fucking hated that doctor.
Yeah.
She did nothing wrong. She was amazing. She was super polite and professional. She, like, everything about this doctor. She was incredible the entire time.
Yeah.
But when she told me that, I was mad. I was so mad when she said that. And I was like, she doesn't need to fucking go on hospice. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, how dare you? You know what I mean? How dare you say this with my mother in the room? And then eventually we did have to put her on hospice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, and I felt like such an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Because it was very clear that like I had an issue with this doctor for saying that. You know what I mean? And like,
dude, I mean, that's your mom though.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
But it's like it's the acceptance. Like you're in denial.
Oh yeah.
When it came to the doctor telling you that shit, and you're like, fuck you. No, I'm not. Like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and be able to see.
Dude, and I think that was probably the worst thing I could have fucking done for myself. One of the worst things.
Where do you draw the line? Like, you need to be positive too, right? Like, so, and that's the hardest part with acceptance. It's like, you need to be positive because positive manifestations it's a real thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, thinking positive about shit, but also accepting reality for what it is and not what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a constant struggle. That is not a clear black and white. That is a fucking giant expanse of gray.
Yeah.
I think. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what makes it so hard.
And I think that's what stems anger too. Because all anger is you not being able to control a situation the way you want it to be.
Well, when I look at my social anxiety and in terms of acceptance, one of the things that my therapist said to me, so like the way my social anxiety works is like, I'll go into a situation and I will overanalyze every fucking aspect of it. Like if I go into a crowded room, I'll immediately do a scan of the room. I'll try to see who all's in this room that I know. And then I try to figure out how each conversation should go with each of these people if we talk, like if I bump into them or whatever. And then I start thinking, okay, well, how should this conversation be initiated? Do I need to be the one that starts it? What if, you know, when I'm talking, I come off rude or I'm rushed because I have my kids with me, so I can't pay full attention to this conversation. And then I start to get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper with every single little piece of this potential interaction that I'm going to have when I go out in public. And so it was getting to the point where, like I said, I was like self-medicating and that wasn't fucking helping. And then I would get this anger and this anxiety following being outside because, like, let's say I got my kids with me and I run into you and we're at the store, and because my kids are being normal kids, I can't fully dedicate myself to this quick conversation with you. And so instead I'm worried that, I probably come off like an asshole because I'm not trying to talk to you, like I'm paying attention to my kids.
Yeah.
And my therapist was just like, so maybe you just sound like an asshole once. Like that's what she was like, what's the big deal? Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, and my therapist said, one, if these people know you, they probably know that you're not trying to be an asshole. Two, worst case scenario, you just come off kind of sort of rude for a minute. Yeah. And I doubt that person's going to remember it.
Dude, and that's so weird because I feel like whenever you interact with any human being, whatever you do sits with you for fucking ever.
Yes.
They probably don't give a shit.
Oh, yeah.
They don't care at all. Yep. They don't even...
I know.
Real life. Dude, that sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting.
That sounds exhausting.
Which is why I was having all these issues like going out in public for so long.
Yeah.
And then like, again, working through it all with my therapist was just so beneficial for me. And again, accepting that, okay, I'm going to go out. Maybe I don't speak as eloquently as I would like to. Maybe I don't say everything that I would like to say, or I'm not as charming as I would like to be. Worst case scenario, it's just a sort of awkward conversation and it's going to be fine. And just hearing somebody tell me that was like, oh, that feels nice. That's good. Okay. Cause I worry about that. You know what I mean? So having to accept that shit was also very important to me. But, so as far as the importance of acceptance, what do you got for that, Brent?
So this is from sharp.com. Okay. And this is pretty similar to what the definition is, but it's saying, the importance of it is to fully acknowledge the facts of situations and not fixating on how it should not be, how it should not be that way.
Yep.
And by doing this, so like by accepting things, the mindset moves us away from harsh judgments of ourselves and thoughts of guilt and unfairness. So when you move towards acceptance, you no longer feel guilty and you accept yourself for who you are. And you know, those people are like, oh, life's just out to get me. Life's unfair. Like, you know what I mean? That mindset goes away.
Those people don't ever fucking seem to be happy.
No, I used to be one of those people.
Everybody has their moments, I think, when they feel that way. Like nothing's fair. Everything's out to get me. But I have yet to meet one of those people and be like, they seem like they're doing great.
Like, hey, wait a minute. I want to be him.
Yeah.
No, dude. Yeah.
But the guilt too, and I've said this before, guilt is so destructive. Like, I feel like guilt can be a positive thing once in a while because you're like, okay, I want to eat 4 extra large sausage pizzas, but if I did, I'd probably feel pretty bad about myself because I know I shouldn't do that. In that instance, a little bit of guilt.
But then you're like YOLO and you eat 4 large sausage pizzas.
And then you just like cry into the pizza box. No, but like most of the time you make yourself feel bad and you shouldn't. And making yourself feel bad just gives you like this negative perception of yourself, which just slowly again starts to like destruct you.
Do you ever do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the time.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel guilty. One of my best friends says it to me all the time. He's like, you feel too much is what he always tells me. Cause I'm just like, sometimes like, again, I'm over analytical of things more so than I think I let on. And like, I'll think about stuff. And if I didn't do what I think I should have done, I will immediately start to feel guilty about certain things. So, I mean, I feel that a lot.
I think it hits me the hardest is when like Amanda takes the kids to the store and she's like, do you want to go? And in the moment, I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the store with you. Like, no.
Right.
And then they leave and I'm like, ugh.
Right.
I should have gone because there was one time Gavin's like, Dad, are you coming with? And I was like, no. And then they left and I was like, dude, he just wanted to spend time with me. Like, come on.
But again, how many people have been guilty of that exact same thing? Because you don't want to go for a billion different reasons. I'm fucking tired. I just got done doing this. I just want a moment to myself. Or whatever. And then, yes, hindsight's 20/20. You look back at that and you're like, fuck, okay, maybe I should have done this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
And in that instance, I would almost argue that a little bit of guilt isn't necessarily so bad, because then next time you're like, when Gavin asks you, hey, Dad, you gonna come to the store with us? You're like, yeah. Because you remembered how that little bit of guilt made you feel before. Yeah. So again, sometimes it can be constructive, I think. But when you fixate on something that you can't change, because in that instance, with your son asking you to go to the store, you can change that.
Yeah.
Next time you go. But if it's something you cannot change, you lost your sight, you lost a family member, you can't fucking change that.
Yeah.
So like that guilt that you hold on to, it's just going to stay there. And then you're just going to have to deal with it for the rest of your life, you know?
Dude. Yes. That just sparked like the guilt I feel for going to a local hospital instead of up north.
Mm-hmm.
That shit. Did
you feel like it could have been different?
Yep. That was one of the things that ate at me for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like almost like I did this to myself.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so, yeah. Sorry it took me so long to like connect the dots, but because
then you're wondering like how things could have been different.
Yeah.
If they could have been different.
And that's a horrible place to be.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That place sucks. Because there was times where I was like, oh, if I just went up north, I could be fucking driving right now.
Yeah.
And I did that for a long time. I did that for a very long time.
Like I think about, like there have been situations in the other direction, like what if situations for me where it's like I hit an IED, my vehicle that I was in hit an IED on the 4th of July, which was the fucking worst way to spend the 4th of July.
I mean, it's kind of ironic.
Coincidentally. Super ironic. Everybody was okay.
Big boom, big firework. Yay.
Make a little jokey joke. It's totally fine. Everybody was fine. My gunner popped his eardrums, but he was okay. But when we hit that IED, I was in the back of the truck. We were in the middle. It was in the middle of the road, and we were on the side of a fucking mountain. And that IED was just a little too small, according to EOD, just a little too deep as far as where it was buried, and just a little too centered on the road. So when it blew, the vehicle went up. The MRAP felt like it went up in the air.
Yeah.
In actuality, the vehicle's like roughly 36,000 pounds or some shit. I maybe just went like boop,
Like
boop,
jumped. Like, yeah.
but still to have enough fucking power to make a vehicle like that feel like you went up in the air.
Yeah.
But everybody was okay. And if that IED was a little higher up, a little to the left, a little to the right, would have gone over the mountain, was a little bit bigger, like we probably would have died. You know what I mean? I was mortared. I was in a turret and we were mortared across a little, across a riverbed. And the mortar landed like maybe like 20 feet from me or something like that. But the smoke cloud, like I was kind of in the smoke cloud.
Yeah.
And again, from the distance that guy shot that mortar at me, like one fucking click on the mortar tube and I might have landed on my lap. So like I had this weird guilt from both of those instances, even though I was fine.
Yeah.
Even though everybody was fine. Like if anyone would have gotten hurt,
Yeah.
I think I would have felt even more guilty. But I just felt like this weird guilt because I felt like I don't know, actually. I mean, I don't know. I just felt it was hard for me to kind of deal with that stuff for a little while.
That's
You know what I mean?
crazy.
Yeah.
Because you have zero control over any of that.
No, I know. And you accept things for the way they are, but you can't help but think like, wow, what if something would have happened a little bit differently? Well, the guilt that I felt with the mortar was because I remember out of the corner of my eye, I was in the turret, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a little flash of light and I couldn't tell. I didn't hear the thump. I didn't hear any of that shit. So I just assumed that it was like a reflection off of like a mirror or a window. Like I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even in my sector. I just noticed it out of the corner of my eye. And then it landed. And again, I was like, God, what if that would have hurt somebody?
Yeah.
And then I could have called it out, but I didn't. So that part kind of got to me too a little bit. You know what I mean?
Dude, I couldn't even begin to fucking imagine.
Again, like I said, we were lucky. Like there's a lot of guys I know that went over and dealt with way more bullshit than I fucking had to. You know what I mean? Like I'm lucky that that's pretty much a bulk of what it was. But the other part too, that I think a lot of veterans have issues with when they come home is, and one thing that I think can disrupt the acceptance that a veteran feels in their community is when a veteran comes home and they're asked by the civilian population, did you kill somebody?
I hate that shit.
I feel like that is one of the worst questions that you can ask a veteran for so many fucking reasons.
Well, yeah. Well, now you're putting you're putting all veterans into one category. Like either you killed someone and you're a badass veteran, or you're fucking not.
Not only, yes, and you're taking somebody's entire career, entire whatever, and you're summarizing it in one little thing. You're like, that's essentially, you're saying, I'm going to judge everything that you did by this one yes or no question.
Dude, can you imagine the lifers? And then they get asked that shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're taking, so like, I don't know how long the Army deployments are, but like the Marine Corps deployments to Afghanistan and stuff are 9 months. So I have leaders and stuff who went on multiple deployments, but they also served 25 plus years. And you're taking those 25 years and summarizing their entire enlistment based off of 9 months.
Right. Not only that, what if it was which for most guys that I know that pulled triggers, a little traumatic of an experience, and they might not exactly want to fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the ones that I know sure as fuck don't want to glorify it.
No.
They did their job. And so it's just like, why? Like, if you want to make the gap between the civilian population and the veteran population any wider, continue to ask veterans if they've killed somebody.
Yeah, why? Ask a civilian. Like, would you want to kill someone? Like, dude, it's life or death. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
if somebody played professional football, and you were just like, did you ever win the Super Bowl? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're going to judge everything that they've ever done based on one thing, on what you would say is an achievement of some kind. And I guess that isn't even a good analogy, because the Super Bowl is something that you do win.
Yeah,
like,
it's a good feeling.
Killing somebody is not something that you win. It's something that you're forced into doing. You know what I'm saying? So like, to ask that question, I feel like, especially when you have veterans that are trying to be accepted in the civilian community, I feel like you're just creating, a bigger fucking gap by asking shit like that.
Yep.
But so I wanted to talk about how to accept the tough situations that you might be feeling and dealing with in life. And this is an article that I found on Amy Morin, lcsw.com. So how to accept tough situations in life. 1, acknowledge the situation, which, like we talked about, the first step in acceptance, like, this is what the fuck we're dealing with. Okay. Acknowledging what it is. Like, I look at it the same way in like horror movies where like there's like a possession or something.
Yeah.
What do they say in like a lot of those movies? You have like, you're supposed to figure out what the demon's name is because it gives you some sort of power over the demon finally when you know what its name is. It's acknowledging it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think I've ever seen any movie where you had to like learn the demon's name.
Seriously?
Like,
Any
hey,
possession movie.
what's your name? It's John.
This demon's name's John. What the fuck?
I couldn't think of a good demon name. Sorry.
No, like most horror, if you watch most, like a lot of possession movies, like The Pope's Exorcist that just came out, or any of those other ones, like part of the research into trying to figure out how to get rid of the demon involves learning what its name is. Because by learning its name, it somehow gives the person a little bit more control, because now they're not anonymously possessing this person, like somebody knows the name of this demon. And what I find interesting about that is like I find parallels to acceptance and like mental health and everything that you're dealing with. You have to know what it is. If you don't know what's wrong with yourself, you're going to spiral. But if you can say to yourself, I have depression.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding under this depression, or I have social anxiety. I'm not hiding under it, but I know what it is. And if I know what it is, I know how I can start to get myself out of it.
You were a monk in a past life.
You think so?
You were something in a past life because you're just so wise.
Thank you.
Like that. Like seriously, most of the shit you say, I'm like, dude, you should be in a book.
I would love to be. I highly doubt any of my thoughts are my own. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point in the game, everything I think is just stuff I've heard before, and then it just comes out of my mouth, and I just assume that I thought of it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man.
Been there.
We've had a lot of experiences in life, you know, and so that's just my opinion on things. So I mean, again, acknowledging the situation, super important. Second thing, according to Amy Morin, developing a plan on how to deal with this tough situation. Number 3, seeking help when necessary. Number 4, changing what you can. Again, like the Serenity Prayer with Stoicism. Number 5, identifying what you cannot change. 6, developing coping skills to deal with your feelings. And then 7, focusing on what you can actually gain out of it.
Dude, they make these steps like, oh, this is all you have to do. Like, it's so easy.
I know.
Like, come on.
It's important to have that framework.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To fall back on, to know, like, okay, well, you know, because you're going to stray, you're going to fall off the path. But it's like, okay, I need to know how to get back on, and like focusing on what you can gain. So when I think about my mother, like, what did I gain out of losing my mom?
Mm-hmm.
I gained the fact that I can understand that having a pain this profound, like, is because I had a love that was that beautiful.
Yeah.
So I am so thankful that I got to have that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think it's cool that you found that in such a tragic, but like in a tragic thing, you know what I mean? You found something that is so beneficial and super cool.
Do you know where I fucking got that thought process from?
Internet.
South Park.
Really?
Yes. And do you want to know who I got it from on South Park?
Bono.
Butters. There was an episode of South Park with Butters. I do not remember the details.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you watch a cartoon and you just like see something and you're like, yo, what? Like, that was a little. So there was something that happened on an episode of South Park where Butters loved something and it was taken away from him, and he was sitting outside and he was crying. And Cartman went up to him and said, or one of the kids went up to him and said something to him. And Butters just said that he was thankful because even though he's crying because he like loved something.
Yeah.
And so he's thankful because he got to have that love, and it was worth crying over.
Yeah.
And like, I just heard that for a second. I was like, wait, what? And then I just thought about it. I'm like, man, like, yeah, that's an amazing way to look at those things. Like, you should be Easier said than done. I know
Yeah.
that. But man, if you had a love that beautiful that it creates a pain that sucks this much, it's amazing that you got to have a love like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you got to experience that. And it's amazing that you can be cognizant enough to know that for the rest of your life. You know that I got to have that. And that makes this pain worth carrying. It makes this pain worth it because it reminds me of how much I love my mom. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, dude. Absolutely.
What about accepting yourself? What did you find for that?
Yeah. It's very important. No, just kidding.
That's it. Wrap it up.
Yep. End of the show. According to kidshelpphone.ca, they came up with 10 ways to practice self-acceptance. So starting out with number 1, embrace what makes you unique, man. Don't change yourself for anybody. Be you.
Can I just say something to that real
Please?
quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the foundation of like every movie that I love, which is every sports movie and any like heist movie, right?
Yeah.
Every one of those movies, you get what does it include? Getting this ragtag group of people together.
Yep.
And they're all so different. And like every movie's like, oh, these guys are never going to work together because they're different. And then all of a sudden it ends with them being like, oh, hey, we can work together.
Like the champions
because of
or
our
something.
differences.
Yeah.
Name a sports movie. Remember the Titans, the Replacements, Every Given Sunday, like fucking whatever. Like name any sports movie or any like heist type movie. And that's the fucking framework for like every one of them.
Except I don't know if you've ever
Coach Carter?
No.
Another one?
8 Men Out. You ever
8
seen
Man
that
Out.
one?
Was that like another Air Bud movie?
No.
No, I don't remember that. What was 8 Man Out?
8 Men Out, sorry.
8 Men Out.
That was the story of the I don't remember what year, but it was like the 1919 Black Sox or whatever, where they threw the World Series.
Yeah.
They made a movie about that.
Really?
So they didn't come out on top, but you know.
Well, see, and that's why. Well, okay, what about the classics? Little Giants, The Big Green, any of those? Like, again,
The Sandlot.
most of the time, the formula is we have all these unique people.
Yep.
And they can't work together because they're unique. And then, oh, we can work together. And then that's the fucking movie.
Dude, they even made a true movie about it. The 1980 Olympics, The Miracle. Like The Miracle on Ice.
I told you I still haven't watched that movie, but I need to watch that movie. Yeah, I heard it's a great movie.
It came out 20 years ago.
Is that the one with not Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
Is it Kurt Russell? It's the dude who looks like Kurt Russell.
No, it's
Or
not.
is it Kurt Russell?
I'm
Miracle?
pretty sure it's Kurt Russell.
I'll look it up.
We should try YouTube. This is gonna be bad. I'm pretty sure it's Kurt Russell.
The Miracle.
It's not The Miracle. It's just Miracle. What's wrong with you?
Okay, 2004
Yep.
hockey movie.
Yep.
Got it. Kurt Russell. See, I didn't even see it, but I knew Kurt Russell was in it.
Well,
Okay.
you should probably see it.
Okay.
You're only 20 years too late, but it's cool.
I know. I usually follow up late to those things. But yes, no. So again, embracing what makes you unique it's so important, and it sucks because especially like when you're younger or when you just don't feel like you fit in, you look at those things that make you unique and you think that that's a weakness.
Yeah, because everyone makes you feel like you're fucking weird.
Right. But it usually where you hit that sweet spot is where you actually are embraced for what makes you unique, which I think is probably a little bit why, like when it comes to our group, like our fat family.
Yeah.
And you got veterans fucking with you for being blind.
All the time.
And you enjoy it.
Oh, dude. It's like a weird pleasure I get. Not in like a weird way.
Well, they're not condescending in a way where they're doing it because they feel like they're higher than you.
Yeah.
They're fucking with you in the way that we all fuck with each other.
Yep.
And so they're, because of that, from talking to you before, like it just makes you feel more a part of the group. And they're not afraid to say those things around you, which means that they love you unconditionally because they can say that shit to you.
They accept me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that matters.
Yep. Sorry. So anyway.
Yes.
The other
Number 2.
Yep.
Let go of things you can't change. Identify your strengths. Set goals. Celebrate your accomplishments, no matter how big or how small. Plan ahead. Think positively. Be kind to yourself. Get involved. And find support.
I like all that.
Yeah, dude. I am a big fan of number 9.
Get involved.
Getting involved. Because when I was not involved before I met you, I did not like me. I did not like who I was. I didn't accept myself. I was depressed a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and then I met you guys, and I became part of the Fat family, and I've been involved with stuff, and dude, my life since, I don't remember, what was it, 2 years ago at Copeland's or whatever.
Yep.
Looking back where I was at then and where I'm at now, dude, it's night and fucking day. It's totally different.
In a good way?
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the big takeaway here for any listeners, like if you want to make people feel accepted, you need to start making fun of blind people.
They'll never see it coming.
Wait, that was the wrong one.
That's okay.
That one works too. I got to learn these buttons better. Nope. That was the one I was going to use.
That's the one.
That was the one I was going to use. No, man, it's just getting involved means a lot because I think that part of why we're here, like in general, is
like as a species, like as a human race.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of what we are supposed to do while we're here.
Yeah.
Is to just fucking help each other out. Like, it's just to be there for each other because we're so much stronger when we work together on things.
I agree.
That's everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're so much stronger when we find people that are unique and use them to those strengths. And it makes everybody that much better for it. And so I definitely think getting involved, being a part of something bigger than yourself, it gives you self-confidence.
Yep.
Because you're doing something for the right reasons. You're doing something because you want to be a part of something and it's a good thing to do. And that gives you a little bit of self-confidence, which is good. And then you have the people that you're getting involved with, and they're going to make you feel accepted. And hopefully they love you unconditionally and they're not judging you. So it just, like it's scary to be vulnerable, but that's a necessary step. Like you have to be vulnerable to be accepted, because to be vulnerable in my opinion, because to be vulnerable means that you're showing those parts of yourself that you might be embarrassed of, you might feel guilty about, you might not want to show other people. But by showing that to other people, like that's the first step in allowing yourself to be accepted for who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is going to sound weird and it's going to get a little sappy or whatever, but I think I fully accepted myself once I lost my vision, which is fucking weird, right? Like at first, no, obviously I didn't accept it. And I'm contradicting what I said earlier.
You accepted yourself.
Myself. I didn't accept the blindness, but I am now accepting myself, where in the sense that like in a big part to the Fat family is the love unconditionally part.
Yeah, dude.
I find myself, I don't judge people anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I find myself just accepting everybody, and the huge thanks to you and your organization and everything, but like that was the like people are like, oh, at least you can still see a little bit. Like no, but generally the one good thing about me losing my vision was that, I think.
That I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
And also, it's just way easier of a way to go through life if you just fucking accept people. Like if you just accept everybody for the way that they are, it's easier for you. It's easier for everybody.
It's so,
you know what I mean?
It's so nice. And it's like, it's almost comforting to walk into a room knowing that there is zero judgment.
Oh my God.
And dude,
for sure.
We are fucking weird. Like,
we put the fun in dysfunctional for fucking sure.
Oh, dude, we are weird as fuck. But you know what? Nobody cares. And another beautiful thing about it, you can bring somebody new in. For example, we went to lunch last Sunday. A couple people from Fat.
Yep.
There was a new person. Melanie had brought somebody new.
Yep.
She jumped right in.
Yeah. Because how intimidating is it when you go into a situation where you feel like you're being judged? Like it's terrifying.
Yeah,
and it's
can't
exhausting.
Be yep.
You don't feel like you can be yourself. You're like, I'm constantly playing that game I've said before where I'm like, what percentage of myself am I allowed to be? You know what I mean? Am I able to be 20% myself, 50% myself? But when you feel like you can, and when you don't feel like you can be your full self, whether it's at work or with a group of people or whatever, that weighs on you.
Yeah.
I feel like, and like that causes stress, that causes these negative feelings, because you have to be who you are, whatever that is, as long as it's not causing any sort of pain or hurt or promoting any sort of negativity to anybody else or any other group of people. Like, you have to fucking be yourself and accept that, and other people have to accept you too. And it's a gift that you can give other people.
Yeah.
Acceptance is a fucking gift that you can give people. You can, whenever somebody shares something with you, just by not judging them and accepting them, that's a fucking gift, because now you've become their safe space or part of their safe space. And we all fucking need safe spaces now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need places where we just feel comfortable.
Stress card.
I don't even know if those were ever
I don't know.
Maybe I've heard of those things forever at boot camp, where like you could have a stress card. I've never once talked to somebody who was like, we had stress cards. So I don't know if that's a thing or not.
I think the Marines just made that up to make fun of the Army even more.
Fucking probably. Anyway, dude, we went a little long this time compared to the first recording. I think we did great.
Yeah.
I think before, are you ready to grab some
Hokkaido?
Yeah, buddy. You ready? You ready to go get some?
Always.
My camera cut out again. I think it might have cut out the Hokkaido part. Hold on. Give it a second. This is so annoying.
As long as the audio is still recorded, I don't.
Yeah, audio's still recording.
Oh, thank God.
We're at an hour and 16.
Nice.
We'll wrap it up now.
Yeah.
And then I'll just plug some of the shit that Fat's got coming up. And then we'll call it. Man, I don't know. Again, for the audio portion, Jake, camera went out again. Not sure why this keeps happening. But well, if it kept all of it, and I'll double check on this, I'm gonna be so pissed if the audio is good and the video is messed up, then we'll just roll out the audio.
We can
still roll it.
We can
out.
deal with that. Yeah,
I would rather do that.
Yeah,
and then the video portion would just be like the I'm Fine logo.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Cool with that. Yeah.
But man, this is just super annoying. Okay, the camera's coming back. Camera's coming back. I'm recording. And see, so the camera's come back on, and then it says stop recording. Are you sure you want to stop recording? I hit cancel, so I should still be recording, right?
You would think so.
Okay, yeah, that's one thing. Anyway, so what was the last thing?
Hokkaido.
I just want that clip. I want that clip that I can just, and then switch it for one of these little buttons on here that we never use, so I can start hitting that button. So speaking of acceptance and unconditional love, we are about to go get some lunch with the fucking Fat family.
Hell yeah.
At one of our new favorite restaurants.
Hokkaido.
Love that. If you are out there listening, a couple of updates that we have with Project Headspace and timing. This Sunday, which is August 27th. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Our female veteran outreach group, Veiled Valor, is going to a rage room, which is pretty sweet. If you know any female veterans out there that are interested, check out the Facebook page, Veiled Valor, or follow us on our page, Project Headspace and Timing. Send us an email, reach out to us, and we'll get you some information for that. That's a all-female veteran outreach group. Looking to do events once a month or so just to get some female veterans together in a safe space. Again, show them that unconditional love and support. Excuse me. The other thing we have coming up, the first Wednesday of every month, we are going to be doing a fishing derby over at our veterans home in Mantino. We have a lot of fun out there, taking everybody out fishing. We bought trophies. We buy trophies every time. We have a trophy for the biggest fish and a trophy for the littlest fish, because they deserve one too. I'm trying to think of a name. We got to do a third trophy. Gabby's been telling me like we need a third trophy and it should be something funny, but I just can't think of I want to do a third trophy, but I just don't know what the trophy's going to be. So we'll think on that. If you have any ideas, send them in. And then we're looking at possibly every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're going to go over to the veterans home and we're going to have a coffee social. So there's a commissary at our local veterans home. And unfortunately, I think it was around COVID, Like, don't quote me on any of this shit, but they had to close down the commissary, and they were limited based on like some of the volunteers that they had. And the commissary was the one spot at the veterans home, one of the spots where the veterans could feel like they weren't at a veterans home. Like they'd come get a cup of coffee, hang out. And one of the groups that was able to go out there to man that place on Wednesdays, unfortunately had to drop out for whatever reason. So the veterans home reached out to me. And I can't let that shit stand. So I'm going to go hang out with those veterans Wednesday mornings from 9 to 11. If you are interested, please, again, check us out, projectheadspaceandtiming.com or .org, excuse me. Shoot us an email and or message our page. And you can get involved with the things that we are doing. So hopefully with this episode, you found a little acceptance. Brad, you got anything else you wanted to say about acceptance, my friend?
No, just love everybody. That's it.
Everybody, accept everybody unconditionally without judgment, right?
Yeah. Good luck.
Fucking A, buddy.
Hell yeah.
I hope that if you are listening today, we helped you go from being fine to being fine. So thank you again for tuning in. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.